Let me tell you right away, I wasn't going to go there. After everything they'd done to me. After all those years of silence, backstabbing, uninvited holidays, and calls that dropped as soon as I picked up the phone. No, I wasn't going to go. But I went anyway. Because sometimes you don't go for them, you go for yourself. So that one day you won't look at yourself in the mirror and see the coward who backed out. So that for once you don't swallow, shrink back, pretend you don't care. My sister's wedding. My little sister is Miss Popular, Miss Perfect Face. Mommy is so proud of her. I was sure I wouldn't be invited. And you know what? I was right. Not a card, not a call, not even a message from any of the distant relatives. But I saw the announcement by accident, on social media. A photo with the caption, "Our beautiful bride." Only a month away from the big day. And that was it. Not a word about the sister who had once sheltered her from thunderstorms, paid for her college uniform, and pulled her out of stupid relationships. I went. Took the day off, bought a dress, simple but stylish. I brought a gift of antique flatware I got from my grandmother. The same grandmother they tried to cut me off from when she got sick. She's not herself, they said. She just remembered who used to sit up nights and read aloud to her while you all pretended to be busy. When I arrived, I wasn't even recognized at the gate. The guest list, and of course my name wasn't on it. The guy in the suit with the clipboard asked, "Who are you?" That's when I realized it was all intentional. Not an accident, not forgetfulness. A plan. A program. An exception. I stood at the gate, looking out at the yard where I had once chased a kite with my sister, where we had built pillow forts and eaten watermelon on the porch. Now there are marquees, music, waiters with champagne and laughter. Laughing out loud. And not one look in my direction. Like I'm just a passerby. I walked in. Without asking permission. Without apologizing. Because it was my home too. I was born into the same family, went through the same school of life as them. And I had a right to be here. But as soon as I entered the house, the atmosphere changed. People stopped talking. Some turned away. My mom stood like a stiff. She was wearing a wine-colored dress and pearls around her neck. The same pearls I'd given her on her anniversary. She didn't even thank me then. Now it's part of her outfit for someone else's day. "You're here." She said it like it was a crime. Do I have a choice? Everything is planned. All the seats are assigned. I'm not asking for a seat. I'm not asking you to walk me down the aisle. I just want to congratulate my sister. She didn't answer. She just nodded and walked away. The sister showed up later. Already in a dress, with her hair done, with a sparkle in her eyes like a movie star. She saw me and smiled. That smile you know when you see a former classmate you don't want to hug. Short, strained. Zero joy. "Oh, hi. Hello, beautiful. How do you know?" "The internet." "Don't worry, I didn't come to ruin your party." She hesitated. And then she added, "It's just, you don't usually show up." We thought, "Who's we?" She didn't answer. Later, I saw the waiter carrying my gift toward the kitchen. I walked over. The box was already lying on the floor. Someone had stepped on it. Picked it up. The paper was torn, the bow was ripped. The utensils were falling out. One knife bent. I stood there with the box in my hands, and for the first time in a long time I wanted not to scream, not to argue, not to run. I wanted to be silent. Because in that silence I suddenly realized clearly. They had cut me out. Not because I'm bad. It's because I'm inconvenient. I remind them of all the things they try not to think about. How easy it is to turn your back on someone who has saved you too many times. I walked out into the backyard. The garden was full of guests, tables bursting with food, live music playing in the background, and waiters scurrying back and forth like bees, only these ones weren't producing honey, just fuss. I walked past Gloria's aunt, who pretended not to notice me. She still thought I was too loud for this family. Yes, she was. Also too real. A girl with a glass of champagne about 25 years old whispered to her friend, "Who's that?" And the friend, without blinking an eye, replied, "I have no idea. Probably from the groom's work." From work. That's how they write you off, with whispers and indifference. I went to the table with appetizers, took a napkin, looked at the whole exhibition. Each guest was like an actor on a movie set. Everything is polished, ironed, and schemed. Not a single real emotion. Just a script. and I must have been cut out at the draft stage. I found a chair in the corner and sat down. There was a loudspeaker next to it. The music was in my ears, but it didn't drown out my thoughts. My father walked by. For the first time all day he looked at me. Didn't approach me. Just nodded. Didn't even ask how I was. Didn't even apologize. He was the one who'd once taught me to keep my back straight when someone yelled at me. Now he was yelling silently. My little cousin came over, looking like she was on a diplomatic mission. Aunt Martha said to ask, "How long are you staying?" I looked at her. I wanted to laugh, but not loudly inside, because the question wasn't about time. It was about patience. "Tell Aunt Martha I'm here until I decide to leave." She left as if she were carrying a military message, an urgent one. I remained seated. The waiter passed by without offering me a glass. Another. I was like invisible, or maybe too visible. So much so that they didn't want to see me. So I got up and went to the table where my mother was sitting. She was discussing the flowers, smiling, as if nothing was going on, as if her eldest daughter wasn't standing there waiting for a single gesture. "Aren't you going to thank me?" I asked. She looked up. "For what?" "For coming. For bringing a family heirloom. For still considering myself part of this circus." Mother smiled. Slowly strained. "You've always been overly sensitive." "No, Mother. I just stopped being comfortable." And I walked away. Not in tears this time, but in silence. The kind of silence that rings louder than a scream. And everyone heard. When I thought the surprises were over for the day, one of the men in a suit came up. I didn't know him, tall with a straight beard. He held himself important. He looked at me, squinted at me and said, "Excuse me, but you didn't happen to mix up the events, did you? This is a private wedding." I rose slowly. "I'm the bride's sister." He blinked as if he hadn't heard. Then he took a step back, shrugged slightly and added, "I'm sorry. You don't fit in." Just like that. No veiling, no acting. I don't fit in. Not the decor. Not in the photos. Not in this perfect picture of their scrubbed-out lives. I didn't respond. I just walked back into the house, where my bank gift lay. I opened the box, took out the spoon, the one with my grandmother's initials engraved on it. I held it up to the light. The thin metal bent a little, but the shine remained. I wiped it on the hem of my dress and took it with me. None of them deserved this. Not a sister. Not the mother. Not those who ate at the table where they hadn't even left me an empty napkin. When I came out, Mrs. Lewis, the neighbor, was standing on the doorstep. An old woman wearing a hat. She looked at me in silence. "You're the one from the army, aren't you?" "Yes," I nodded. "Not the army. I'm me." She nodded. Her gray curls slipped out from under her hat. And then she said quietly, "When you left, everyone here said how proud they were of them. And now? Now everyone pretends you were gone." I sighed. "It's okay. I was. And I left. Straight. With my head held high. Because when you're not called but you come anyway, that's not weakness. It's courage. And if being a stranger amongst your own is the price of dignity, then so be it." I walked slowly to my car. Not a single person called out to me. No hand laid on my shoulder. No voice said, "Stay," and it was louder than any speech. Sometimes silence sounds like a sentence. But I didn't break. I drove home not defeated but awake. Because when your family pretends you don't exist, you become your own family. What happened next changed everything. You don't want to miss how it unfolded. You think that when you've already been through the most frustrating part, there it is, the bottom. The box of bent appliances, the stares of strangers, the mom who forgot you existed. That it can't get any worse. As if it couldn't. The day was just beginning. And the day was ready to crush me for a second round. I didn't leave right away. I stayed. Not because I was hoping someone would change their mind, run out after me, say, "Sorry, we screwed up." No. I stayed because I suddenly realized I wanted to see it through to the end. I want to see the extent to which you can cut a person out of a family. I want to see how far you can push him before he gets up and never turns around again. The terrace is filled with the color of the local bohemians. Former teachers, neighbors with licked lawns, familiar sisters with their husbands in matching jackets. Someone was singing along to a string quartet. Someone was reading the guest list like scripture. Everything was according to plan. Their plan. I stood off to the side, and for a moment it seemed as if one of the kids wanted to come up, a girl with pigtails about 8 years old. She was holding a bunch of wildflowers. But her mother called her over to her, said something in her ear, and she left immediately. This is how they raise the next generation. They teach who can smile and who should not. The groom, I must say, looked like from the cover. Perfect smile, tie fits like a commercial. He even came up to me, like it was protocol. Are you a relative? I turned to him. The bride's sister. He blinked. Sorry. I didn't realize. That's okay. Nobody knows anything here. It's all about looking decent. He nodded, but his eyes were running. He left without saying anything. And he did the right thing. Because if he'd stayed, I would have asked, did you ever see your fiancée cry when she was a child and her doll was stolen from her at the fair? And who stood by and knocked that doll out of the hands of her abuser? But I'm not here now. Later, one of the bridesmaids came up. Thin with shiny fingernails. Tone like she was HR at a job interview. You must be the aunt from California? I almost laughed. I'm her sister. The older one. The one she decided to forget. Who are you? The director of this play? The girl flared up, backed off. Walked away, whispering something into her phone. And then something happened that finally knocked me out of my state. On the photo board, the one with all the important moments of the bride's life, there was not a single one of mine. Not one. Not one high school photo of me holding her shoulder. Not a graduation where I stood behind her with flowers. Not a summer snapshot of me on the beach. It was like I never existed. I stood in front of that board and felt something in my chest begin to tighten into a knot. Not resentment, no. Anger. Pure, heavy, thick. I was no saint. I wasn't an angel. But I was. I gave. I protected. I helped. And they just cut me out. I stepped away from that board and almost bumped into Uncle Marcus. He was standing at the bar, pouring himself something amber, with the look of a man who thinks he knows where the truth lies. He saw me and raised his eyebrows slightly. You're still here? And you're still drinking, I replied. He grinned crookedly. You haven't changed. And you haven't learned to be quiet when you need to be. He finished his drink, set it down, said slowly, Look, I understand you're hurt, but maybe you should have just let it go. It's her day. It's not yours. I came closer. Do you realize that while you were all patting her on the back, I was dealing with my mom's debts? That when she was hanging up on the guy who ran off with the money, I was the one who called the police. That I'm not just a sister. I'm this family's fire extinguisher. Only now that everything's okay, I've been written off. He stopped talking. And that was enough for me. I left. In the garden, preparations for the vows began. The host was rehearsing phrases. Assistants were adjusting the flowers on the arch. I stood back and remembered how Alina and I had once hid behind this very house, collecting bugs, singing in two voices. Back then, she'd said she'd never get married if I didn't walk her down the aisle. Laughter. A childish conspiracy. And now I'm not even a guest. I walked over to my mother. She was sitting in a chair in the shade, next to her Sunday church friends. Mom, I just have one question. She looked up slowly. What? Were you the one who asked me to take my pictures off the walls? Or did you just approve? She was silent for a long time. Then she answered quietly. It was Alina's decision, and I supported it. You approved of me not being part of this family? You've just always stood out. Because I wasn't pretending. She lowered her eyes. You make everything so hard. No, Mom. I just don't let you make a background out of me anymore. Then the fun part began. The wedding coordinator, in a pink suit and carrying a clipboard, walked by and stopped next to me. He smiled the way waiters smile when you walk into the wrong room. Excuse me, are you sure you're at this event? I'm the bride's sister. He blinked like an automaton and said, It's just, you're not on the list. You are asked to step away from the ceremony area. Group photo. Just the immediate family. Here it is. Immediate family only. I took a step back. 1, 2. Watched them line up, my mom, my dad, my grandmother with the scarf. Perfect picture. A perfect set. Only one person is missing. The The one who brought Grandma to the hospital. Who dealt with the debts. Who once stood up for everyone. I stood and watched the camera shutter click. 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 As if each frame was a nail in the lid of the coffin where everything that was once called family is buried. A man approached me. Not from around here. Old, wrinkled, but his eyes were alive. You're not in the photo? Apparently I'm an extra in this play. He grinned. I heard you when you were talking to that woman. You're not an extra. You're a memory. And they seem to have short memories. I almost laughed. Who are you? Just an old army man. I'm here with a friend of the groom's. But I can spot your kind right away. Like me? Those who've done too much and gotten too little. I looked at him. The first man all day who looked at me straight on, not through. Not looking for a place to cross me off. He saw me. He was gone. But the look stayed. Later, when the ceremony began, I stood at the exit, listening to the vows. Everyone was talking about how important family is, how to keep memories alive, how to forgive. And you know what? None of them believed it. Because if they did, I'd be standing right next to them. I didn't go to the toasts. I didn't go to the arch. I just stood at the edge of the garden, watching like I was watching a movie. Only in this movie, I'm not the actress. I'm a spectator who forgot to be invited to the premiere. And yet something inside me shifted. I wasn't the girl waiting to be noticed. I wasn't the woman begging for love. I stood on my feet, straight, clear, and suddenly I realized I wasn't broken. They can rewrite the photo albums, cross me off the lists, erase me from the memory boards. But they can't undo who I've become. They can't erase my path. Can't rewrite my truth. And that's when, standing in the shade of the trees, I realized, I'm not alone. I am with me. And that's enough to no longer be afraid of being off the list. A couple walked by. The woman pointed at me and whispered, "Who's that?" The man shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe the staff?" I grinned. And then said loudly, clearly, "Staff? Yeah, baby. Except I'm not catering your party. I'm the reason this family had a chance at a normal life in the first place." They froze. And I walked away. And as I walked, I wasn't ashamed. Not one bit. Because sometimes being uncomfortable is the only way to stay real. I went back to the car and got in the driver's seat. I got in, but I didn't drive away. I just sat there, hands on the wheel, eyes in the mirror. You know what I saw? A woman who survived. She didn't survive, she survived. Against empty smiles, erased memories, and tugged ribbons. A woman who wasn't invited, but who came anyway. And left not broken but strong. They can go on with their play. Let them. But I am no longer a spectator. I am the author of my scene. This is the climax. Everything you've been waiting for is right here. Stay to see the hero put everyone in their place. I was going to leave. I was already gripping the wheel, already mentally driving away. Already imagining the door slamming, the dust rising behind the car. But something inside me wouldn't let go. Not because I was waiting for an apology. It was because I knew I had to witness the finale. I didn't come here to beg. I came here to see it all. Down to the last chord. Even if it's a fake chord. At that moment, that military man came up to me. A man with lively eyes. He didn't ask, just silently stood next to me. We both looked at the courtyard. The tent. The archway. The people. The photo. Lights. It's all polished to a high shine. Do you have a uniform in your car? I frowned. Why do you ask? Because you need to get back there. And not as a guest. As yourself. I didn't answer. But inside something shifted. It clicked. As if everything I'd swallowed in the last 10 years suddenly came together in a fist. I got out. I opened the trunk. And yes, the uniform was there. Not a dress uniform, but a real one. The one I wore when I was on the line. The one I'd been honored in. The one I used to bury my coworkers. I changed in the car. Slowly. No fuss. I didn't put on makeup. I didn't comb my hair. I just put on the truth. When I walked into the courtyard, it was like time stood still. Someone turned around. Someone stopped talking. A relative dropped a napkin. My mom froze. A sister shocked. The coordinator whispered something to the assistant, but he didn't budge. I walked straight ahead. Not fast, not slow. Just steady. Is that you? Mom whispered. It's me, I answered. The one you crossed out. but the one that hasn't been erased. At that moment, the host came to the microphone. Apparently, the rehearsal was over, and the official part began. He started talking about family, traditions, respect. And that's when it happened. The very same military man came to the microphone. Unexpectedly. Without warning. He asked for the floor. The anchor was confused but backed off. "I'm sorry," he said, "but I can't keep quiet. There's a man who's been forgotten here today. Someone who has been the shield of this family all his life. Someone who is not in the pictures but in every story they tell. I don't know all the details, but I know honor when I see it. And I know service. So," he turned to me and saluted. "Admiral." At that moment everything froze. The tent, it was like falling into silence. Someone coughed. Someone dropped their glass. And then Mom slowly stood up. Confusion in her eyes. And a drop of the very thing, shame. My sister stood there like a stumbling block. Not a word. Only a tremor in the hand that clutched the bouquet. And that's when I said it. I didn't ask for a title. I didn't ask for recognition. I asked for one thing, to be. And you did everything you could to make sure that didn't happen. But you know what? I was there anyway. I was there when you needed me. I was there when you weren't talking. I was there even when you erased me from the boards and the pictures and the invitations. And now I'm still here. And you know why? Because my name isn't on the list. It's on the deeds. Someone applauded. Reluctantly. Quietly. Maybe out of politeness. Maybe because they didn't know what else to do. But I heard it. Not as a confession, as a crack in the wall of silence they'd so carefully built over the years. Mom took a step toward me. "Why are you being so demonstrative?" I looked her straight in the eye. "Because you've been pretending I don't exist for too long. And now you're going to have to watch." "Are you trying to ruin your sister's day?" "No. I want to remind her that she has a sister. Or do you need a gold-embossed invitation for that?" The sister slowly came closer. Tears in her eyes, lips trembling. But she is silent. As she always did when she needed to speak. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. "That's right. You didn't want to. You didn't want to remember how I got you out of trouble, how I paid for your education, how I did everything I could to give you a chance. You just didn't want to see it. Because it's uncomfortable. And today is your perfect day." A male guest, apparently one of the groom's co-workers, stepped forward. "I'm sorry, is that even appropriate?" I turned to him. "Who are you?" "Just a friend of the family." "Then listen, you're looking at the woman the family tried to cut out. Now put me back in. Because I'm not going away quietly." He backed off. And he did the right thing. Then there was a moment when I thought, that's it. They're gonna turn around, kick him out, call security. But nobody moved. Because despite the awkwardness, despite the fancy dresses and toasts and glasses and fake smiles, the truth was too loud. And I added, "I'm not the one who came at the wrong time. You've been living without me for too long. You've gotten used to it. But now you'll pay for your silence. Not with money. Confession." I turned around. Not because I lost, but because I said it. And when you walk away from something like that, you don't have to look back. But I did turn around. Because there was a boy standing to the side. The one with the pigtails and the flowers, the one my mom called away. Now he was looking at me. Straight on. Without fear. With interest. He came over, handed me a flower. "Are you real?" I sat down. "What do you mean?" "Well, you're not like the others. They smile all the time. And you, it's like you know more." I took the flower. "I just don't hide." He nodded. Silently. And it was the only truly honest gesture I'd seen all day. When I walked out the gate, the sun was setting. The car seemed as tired as I was. I sat behind the wheel without turning on the ignition. I just sat there. And suddenly I realized I hadn't lost my family. I just stopped accepting the role of shadow. And that's not defeat. It's freedom. My phone vibrated. A message. From an unknown number. There was one word. "I'm sorry." No name. No signature. I didn't respond. Because apologies are the beginning, not the end. And they only have a beginning. I drove out slowly. Not with anger. With confidence. Behind me was the wedding. In front of me, silence. Pure. No falseness. No restraint. I was driving and there was no one in the rearview mirror. which meant I was truly free now. I stopped at a gas station after 20 miles. Got out to stretch. I bought a coffee strong, no sugar. And while the cashier was punching out the check, he said, "Did you do a show today? You're being talked about online. Somebody posted a video of that military man's speech." I got a glass. "No. I just came by to say goodbye." He nodded. And then he added, "They say you're the one the family forgot." I smiled. "No. I'm the one the family can't forget anymore." In the parking lot, I got in my car, pulled out my phone. I opened a photo taken years ago. Me and Alina, wet after the rain in old jackets, hugging. I pressed send and sent it to her. No caption. No text. Not as a gesture of reconciliation, but as a reminder. I didn't disappear. You just turned your back. The car started up. No one on the road. And for the first time in a long time, I felt not loneliness but peace. You know what peace is? The kind where you finally admit it's not a crime to be yourself. It's a gift. Let the weddings go on, the photos get printed, the lists get made. I'm not in line anymore. I'm outside. And I'm fine there. I didn't beat them. It wasn't a duel where someone falls and someone triumphs. But I stood up. I asserted myself. I took back the voice they were trying to silence. Some people think family is blood. But blood can be ignored. The truth can't. You can't erase it from your memory. You can't cut it out of a photograph. You can't take it out of your heart. I won't wait for another invitation. I won't wait for them to come to their senses. I don't have that naive maybe next year anymore. I only have today. Just me. And my path. So if ever someone says again that I'm not on the list, I'll answer simply, because I was the one creating the list, not the one waiting to be put on it. And that's enough.